We're here with Darren Hardy, the publisher of Success Magazine, and let me tell you, this is an honor that I've never had the opportunity to experience, and I am super excited to not only have you speaking at our Exponential Growth Summit that's coming up, but just to have the opportunity to sit down with you and pull from the knowledge that you've gained by having so much opportunity to interview so many successful people. I know you coach high-level CEOs, and you've just been in a lot of different arenas that are really outside of the real estate niche, but you've also been in real estate and been highly successful as a real estate agent. And I think that makes you very unique, having seen the business firsthand and the challenges of real estate, and you've overcome those. And really just a pleasure to be here with you and have the opportunity to pick your brain and gain some knowledge here.
Pleasure's mine. Glad to be here. Yeah.
And one thing that I really want to start with today is, having that unique ability to have interviewed all these amazing people. And, for those a lot of people may not know everybody that you've interviewed, but every time I see one of your magazines, you've literally been in an environment kneecap to kneecap with some of the biggest names. And as a result, I think that you've been actually referred to as the modern day Napoleon Hill. And anyway, I just think that it's a great opportunity. We're so excited, and just want to, why don't you share with us, having that unique ability, what's your biggest takeaways?
So it has been extraordinary. I got the best job in the world. I mean, as publisher of Success Magazine, it's almost a calling card. There's not most anybody on the planet I couldn't get on the phone, because they all do respect and appreciate the 110-year legacy history that Success Magazine has. Started by Orison Swett Marden in the 1890s. Clement Stone, Napoleon Hill himself, and Aug Mendino have all had the job that I've got today. So it's an extraordinary. And the other thing that I always say is that there's not a single word that in itself is a brand that describes what anybody wants in life. I mean, nobody wants a Nike or a Microsoft or even an Apple, but they all do want success. And so that's sort of the brand that I get to champion and herald and try to bring forth to millions more on a monthly basis. But yeah, it's given me the unique chance to get knee to knee, spend time with, both in a formal interview setting and casually, with the likes of people like Richard Branson and Steve Jobs and the Donald Trumps of the world, and Colin Powell, and even Maria Shriver and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. It's just been an extraordinary experience, mostly for me, not because that they're not only extraordinary individuals, but I've got a chance to sit down in a purposeful environment and try to pull out of them what is it that have been the differentiating factors to their extraordinary success. And then it's my job to take all of that incredible intel and distill it down and try to make it relevant, applicable, and actionable to the entrepreneurs that we serve in the pages of Success Magazine, or on my blog, or on the stages that I get a chance to grace and speak to audiences all over the world. But if you ask the question, what's the one commonality, the one thing that is consistent amongst all of them that has been their distinguishing factor for separating themselves from the herd, becoming that extraordinary versus ordinary, because I get asked this question a lot. So the one thing is that they are all passionately engaged in continual learning. They have an insatiable appetite to learn and to improve. Steve Jobs defined it as iterating. He says you got to be constantly iterating. One of the things that is part of their culture at Apple is no matter who you are, what role you serve in the company, you always have to have at least 3 things that you're working on improving. And if you pass the superior in the hallway, or you pass Jobs himself in the hallway, he was likely to ask you, what 3 projects or what 3 things are you working on improving right now? And it could just be a function, a task, a problem, something inside your job role that you are iterating on. And Jobs' famous line was always, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. So this constant, never-ending search for becoming better, doing better, and figuring out kind of what the edge is. And that's true if you spend time with Branson, certainly Jobs, Trump, Lance Armstrong. It's like every single aspect of who they are, what they do. They're just looking to iterate. So they'll read, they'll study. I mean, there's a reason why the greatest in the world hire the greatest coaches in the world, right? I mean, who can teach somebody like Tiger Woods to play golf? Who teaches Tiger Woods to play golf? Well, the best coach in the world is who teaches Tiger Woods to play golf. And he pays them an extraordinary amount of money to do so. Who could teach world record-breaking Olympic athletes? Who could teach Michael Phelps to swim, right? Well, there's an interesting thing. I read it in the New Yorker, and it was this world-renowned surgeon who was paying a coach to coach him about how to do surgery. Now, this is the best in the world. This guy is heralded amongst his peers as a savant. And yet this guy hired a coach to watch him do surgery to make him better. And people were fascinated. Why would you hire a coach? You're the best in the world. And he said, there's a thing that's called unconscious incompetence. And that is, you don't even know what you're doing wrong in the act of doing it. It takes somebody outside of you, observing you from the outside, to see the nuances of what you could be adjusting, tweaking, or improving upon in order to get you past your plateau that you might be at to the next level. Well, that's true of Tiger Woods' swing. That's true of Lance Armstrong on a bike. That's true of Michael Phelps in the water. Like, somebody from the outside can see and observe what can be improved better than the person in the act themselves, who might be, in fact, the best in the world. So that's what a lot of these great achievers do. They hire the best coaches. They pay for the best advisors. They buy the best advice. They hire the top-notch consultants. They go and pay for the best research and knowledge because they're looking to iterate. Now, fortunately, I learned this personally way back when I was 18 years old. I came across some material, and then I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Brian Tracy. And one of the things he said is that for every dollar you invest in your personal development, this constant never-ending search for improvement, it delivers $30 to the bottom line over time. And he said there's not a better investment anywhere in the world. He says, show me the stock market, show me real estate, show me gold. You can't put $1 in and get a 3,000% return anywhere else in the world than taking the dollar and investing it in you. And so his formula that has served me all my life was, he said, take 10% of every dollar you make, 10% of your total income, and use it to help other people. We've all heard that, right? That's biblical, tithing. He says, take another 10% and help yourself. And that is improve on your own skills, your own mindset, your own behavior, your own performance. And so at 18, taking that advice, I was able to make a six-figure income. Well, that's $10,000 that I have to reinvest in myself next year. Then you earn $500,000, that's $50,000. You start earning a seven-figure income. You're like, well, can you possibly spend over six figures on your personal development? It's how I got here. If I don't, I'll be afraid of what happens. So to this day, I have to actually go out of my way to figure out how to spend the money on my personal development. Because as the income grows, I do not want to wane from the discipline of taking 10% of all I make and reinvesting it in myself, which is the reason why I pay for the best coaches, the best advisors, the best consultants, the best knowledge, the best systems and insights so that I can constantly improve myself. So that's what's true amongst all of them, is that they invest in themselves. And when it kind of comes down to it, I remember another formula that I learned from Brian Tracy. He says, it doesn't take much to become extraordinary. There's not a grand leap forward. There's no overnight success. It doesn't require heroic feats. He says it just requires a little bit of improvement every day. And he says, you could wake up 10 years from now and be 1,000% better. So would you like to be 1,000% better? 1,000% better. That sounds pretty good. Not 10% better, not 100% better, 1,000%. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's how to do it. So you could be 1,000% better real estate professional. You could be 1,000% better husband, 1,000% better in your fitness, or in your wellness, in your wealth, in any area of your life, if you just improve 0.1% every day. Now that's 1/1000th. That's essentially probably reading for 30 minutes and picking up an idea and then giving it some test, a trial throughout the day. No big deal. 1/10 of 1%. He said if you just do that every day, 1/10 of 1%. He said, over a period of a month, that's a half of 1%. Over a period of a year, that's 26% improvement. Over 10 years, compounded, getting to our underlying theme here, that's 1,000% improvement. Now, 10 years from now, you're going to be 10 years older. You look back 10 years ago, are you 1,000% better than you were 10 years ago? Well, if you haven't been disciplined and consistent on the slight little 1/10 of 1%, 1/1000th of a tweak, that's just a slight little adjustment of the knob. That's just a little bit, just a tap on the throttle, right? It's just a tweak of the wheel. It's no big deal stuff. But over 10 years later, you're 1,000% better. So somebody comes to you guys and goes, I can't believe it. 500 homes? How do you sell 500 homes? Well, you sell them one at a time, number one. Yeah. And number two, you start out, as you mentioned to me, selling 22 in a year, and then it's 200, and then and the path there is not one morning you woke up and you're a super agent. Yeah. The path there is 1/10 of 1%, 1/1000th of a percent every day. And so that's the commonality. I get asked all the time, there's 7 billion people on the planet. You only get to pick 12 to be on the cover of Success Magazine. These people that get there, their face on the cover, they've arrived. What did they do different? Is it how they were brought up? Is it their childhood? Is it where they grew up? Is it their age, race, creed, or color? Is it their gender? Or as I remember I asked Richard Branson, I said, a lot of people say that you've just been lucky, you've just been in the right places at the right time. And I said, how much would you attribute luck as part of your success? And he said, hey, look, we're all lucky. If you live in a free society, we're all lucky. And luck shows up around us all the time. He said the difference between me and I think everybody else is when luck comes my way, I take advantage of it. And most people don't. And so it's not luck that's the ultimate distinguishing factor. It literally is just this constant, never-ending search for slight improvements all along the way. And if that's reading a book, if it's replacing the yak drive time news sensational radio in your car with an instructional or an inspirational or a challenging or informative CD that's going to nourish your mind, that slight little 1/100th of a percent that day, that's what's going to make the major difference. And so there's these big, extraordinary differences between the Lance Armstrongs and your weekend warrior on the 15 speed. Yeah. It's nothing extraordinary besides the 1/100th of a percent. That's really what it comes down to.
I love it. Relentless pursuit of getting better.
Yeah.
That is amazing. It's funny because you probably saw us light up when you said it, because when we sat around the table and we were talking about, well, why do we do this? Well, we were really trying to find what's the purpose here and what's really driving us. And that was what we came up with was, there's just got to be a better way to sell real estate. There's got to be a better way. And it's just that relentless pursuit of that really keeps us doing what we're doing, I think.
A lot of people ask, they say, what is it that successful people have in common, which is what we've just talked about. What I always find even more interesting is what do successful people and unsuccessful people have in common? And the commonality is that they both hate to do what it takes to be successful. Like this morning, did I like leaving the warm embrace of my beautiful bride to go and strap on running shoes, to go pound pavement out in the dark to go for a run? I do not. After a long, hard day's work, do I want to, go into a sweaty gym with a bunch of, hairy men just to push around a bunch of iron? I do not, right? In the heat of a discussion, debate with my wife, and I know that I'm right?
Yeah.
Do I want to say, you're probably right, honey, I'm sorry? I do not. But why do I do those things? Because that's what it takes to be successful. And so I think it's actually quite inspiring for unsuccessful people to realize that successful people hate to do what it takes as well. They just do it anyway. And so we talk about this constant, never-ending pursuit, and you're like, wow, that sounds like hard work. Well, it's a lot easier than being broke. I will tell you that. Yeah. It's a lot easier than a heart attack. It's a lot easier than a divorce. It's a lot easier than a foreclosure. It's a lot easier than a bankruptcy. So, Jim Rohn, my mentor, would say, you will suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And the pain of discipline weighs ounces, getting up and going for a run. I didn't want to do it, but that's not that big of a deal, right? Calling somebody on the phone that I might be intimidated to call. I might not want to do it, but it's not that life-altering. But the pain of regret weighs tons, and that's the pain of the divorce, the pain of bankruptcy, the pain of foreclosure. So the key point I think Jim was saying there is that you will suffer. Like nobody escapes this without suffering. You just get to pick which you suffer, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And I choose the pain of discipline. And so that is the reason why this discipline of constantly never-ending improvement is sort of my salvation, so that I don't have to suffer the pain of regret as an alternative. Yeah. So that's kind of the big difference.
So is there another key point that you see super achievers, all, something that they all have in common to get to where they go? Is there something else that you can share with us?
Yeah, one of the big differences is I always believed that, and when I was in real estate, this was part of my reason for my success, and also the reason why I didn't experience the kind of success that you guys have experienced in real estate, because I left it and going like, this is no way to live. I mean, I was just working myself to death, literally. So I was working long, hard hours. My success was sort of generated off of brute force. I just out-prospected, outworked, out-failed everybody around me, and was able to do 100 transactions a year, and was killing myself to do it. And when I started getting a chance to spend a lot of time with a lot of these extraordinary achievers who had much more money, was having a much greater impact in the world, the other thing I realized is they also had a lot more freedom of time, and they had a lot more joy in their life than I was experiencing. So, I mean, I know that if the key to success was working long, hard, grueling hours, I would be wealthier than Donald Trump, Richard Branson, and say Tony Hawk, who's a local guy here, right? Because I know that I frolic on a beach a lot less than Richard Branson does on his private island. I know that I play a lot less golf than Trump does in his private Mar-a-Lago course. I know that I spend a lot less time with children and my personal hobbies and my friends than Tony Hawk does. But yet, I didn't have their bank account, and I wasn't making the kind of impact, and I wasn't experiencing the joys and fruits of life like they were. And so one of the things I went out on a pursuit is what are those few variables, the productivity secrets of these extraordinary achievers? And one of those is, because I always wanted to know, what are they doing? What does Donald Trump do first thing in the morning? How does he sort of set the stage for his day? What does Richard Branson do to manage 400 companies and be a leader and strategically execute on his ideas of protecting his brand? What is Tony Hawk doing to build his personal brand and personal profile? And, what are his disciplines throughout the day? I was looking for the do. The thing that I discovered is the big difference between these extraordinary achievers is not what they do. It's actually what they don't do. Saying no and not doing a lot of the things that surrounds our temptations, the shiny objects, the squirrels you talked about, are the great separators. I know when I got a chance to spend time with Buffett, I said, the pivotal question, right? And Success Magazine publisher, the first question I had is, what would you attribute your great success? One principle, boil it down, the one most contributing factor to your success. Here's a guy that's worth $50 billion, right? The Oracle of Omaha. Smart, brilliant, amazing man who's turned it into lots of cash. Pretty interested in his answer, right?
Yeah.
His answer was, for every 100 opportunities that are presented to me, I say no 99 times. His one greatest secret to success was saying no 99 out of 100 times. And that's not just investment opportunities or acquisition opportunities. This is any solicitations on his time. To take a meeting, to be on a call, to be interviewed, all the rest of that. His key was his ability to say no 99 times. When I spent time with Steve Jobs, I asked him the question. I said, of all the things that you and Apple has built, revolutionary industry, game-changing technologies, things that people lust after, line up for, what are you most proud of what you've built? His answer, of all that, I am as proud of what we don't do as I am of what we do. In other words, it's our ability to not take on new products, new ideas, new obligations on our bandwidth that allows us to be excellent at the few things we set our sights on, because we are not being mediocre at all the other things that we could do but choose to say no to. So I have found that is true in not only in building companies, but also in building personal productivity. So to make it relevant to real estate, when I was in real estate myself, there are 5,000 things you can imagine that if you do, it will help you be more successful, right? These are the illusions of productivity. You can get to the end of the day and go, I worked so hard, but you did so little, right? There are 5,000 things. And if we listed them, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That sounds productive. Meeting with the appraiser, going to the closing, reviewing the inspection reports, managing the escrow process. These are all what I realized back then is that there are only 3 things, and this is for me back then. Now remember, this is before the systems of the internet and even email for a lot of the communication purposes. The 3 things that only I could do, that you talked about it earlier, that I make the difference in, that you can't delegate because this is where talent, let's just say this is where I make money. When I do these things, I make money. And that was prospecting, going to negotiating a contract, or a listing appointment. Those are the 3 things. So I then, over time, just tried to hire assistants to do everything else, to manage the process of running the business so that I could spend more and more time doing these 3 things. Now I became so dogmatic about trying to narrow my time to doing these 3 things that I actually wore a stopwatch around my neck. And I would go, in my prospecting efforts, if I were going door to door, I'd knock on the door, the door would answer, I'd turn it on. Do you plan on buying or selling real estate in the next 6 months or not? Talk, door shut, turn it off, right? Yeah. 5 to 9 was cold call money time, right? So I call people on the phone, ring, they answer the phone, on, talk, hang it up, off. And I remember the first day that I did this, I wouldn't look at it all day long, that I thought I had crushed it. I just wanted my first day to be like this bench setting time period, right? So I worked probably 18 hours that day, just like a dog. And at the end of the day, I was excited to turn over the stopwatch to see how much I had worked that day, really. So I turned it over. Guess how much time?
2 hours and 36 minutes.
20 minutes. 18 hours working like a savage, and I really only recorded 20 minutes worth of productive time, which is the 3 things that I get paid for. Everything else, I don't get paid for those things. Yeah. I pay to get those things done, right? Yeah. So it became this passionate goal of mine to increase that number. I remember when I got it from 20 to 40, it was like a Herculean. When I got it to an hour, there was a massive celebration. An hour. Now, can you imagine? You're working all day long, and you're celebrating getting an hour of actual productivity done. And so I remember I got it to 2 hours, and then 4 hours. 4 hours was almost like the max that I could do with and still manage the process of, because I was trying to turn everything else from labor. This is a key point. Everything else from labor into leadership. So you still have to lead. Like, you can't just not do or oversee. You have to inspect what you expect. Yep. So there's still a function of leadership to manage the rest of that. Just don't be doing any labor of it, right? So turn the labor over to support and still lead it. So 4 hours, and that was I think one of those key elements, and I see that with these extraordinary achievers is the only thing we've got really in this pass through life is time, and how you manage that time. More importantly, how you manage yourself in that time, because you can't manage time. It's marching on without you.
Yep.
Right? You don't actually manage time. You only manage yourself within that time, is the great distinguishing factor to who ends up on the cover and who doesn't, is how do you manage yourself inside that time. I will pass on another if I were to sort of look back on my real estate experience, and because it was a great training ground for a lot of what I would do from that point forward. But one of the things that made a big difference for me when I was in the business is I was 20 years of age when I got started, as I said. So I was young, and I think that was an advantage from the standpoint is I knew I didn't know anything, so I was open to it all. And so I went to a seminar, which I highly recommend people do. Soak up as much knowledge and information as you possibly can. Iterate, right? We talked about continual learning. And I got a chance to take the seminar leader out to lunch afterwards. And I sat him down and I said, okay, just tell me, what do I need to do to be successful? Just give me, and I had my notes. And he said, go fail. And I said, what? Wait a minute now. I thought the whole idea of success was to avoid failure. He said, no, quite the opposite. Failure is the goal. And he could see that I was bewildered. And he said, Thomas Watson of IBM said, the key to success is massive failure. I said, this is not computing. How can the key to success be massive failure? So he drew a little analogy on a napkin. And he drew a pendulum. And he said, look, life is like a pendulum. On one side of the pendulum is success, happiness, joy, wealth. The other side of the pendulum is sadness, rejection, defeat, and poverty, right? Or let's just say lack of success. He said if you just stand still, you won't experience any rejection, fear, defeat, but you also won't experience any success. And it's life. You can't stand still. You can't live under a bridge. So what happens is most people end up finding this little comfort zone, just this little area that they will allow the pendulum to swing on either side, where they become comfortable with, only so much sadness, only so much rejection, almost so much defeat, only so much pain. And that's the reason why they will only experience so much joy, so much happiness, and so much wealth. And they just live in that spot. He said, now, the interesting thing about this pendulum is you can't really push it on the side of success. As my mentor, Jim Roma, put it, what you pursue eludes you. It's like trying to chase butterflies. He said, but you can push it on the side of failure, on the side of rejection, on the side of defeat. He said, so your goal is to push the pendulum as far and as often on the side of pain, rejection, and sadness as fast as you can. Go fail a lot. So I took it to heart. I was 20 years old, had nothing to lose. So I just went on a mad craving for failure. And so in real estate, there are a few areas you can go and get lots of failure, lots of sadness, lots of pain really fast, right? So one was our expired listings. And I kind of grew up through a market that's very similar to today. It was just months after Black Monday, and short sales were prevalent back then as well. It was the perfect time to be in real estate. I always say if the market is thriving and growing and you're a newbie in the industry, forget it. Market's closed to you because there's too many past clients and too many old war horses and floor time and open houses and crap that everybody else is going to soak up. Everybody knows a cousin or some distant relative that's already a realtor. It's just, that's not the heyday of a new person getting in the business. The heyday of a new person getting in the business is when it's tough. So only the proactive, only the ones that are going to go out and go and get the business are the ones that are going to end up with the business. You sit on floor time, in today's market, you think you're going to sell a bunch of real estate doing an open house, you're done before you start, right? So perfect time for a new person getting in the business. Well, that was when I got started. And So expired listings were abundant. And, that's obviously for those that know, this is when a house is on the market with another agent and it didn't sell, and it comes up on the multiple listing service, and hundreds of agents call the homeowner at the same time, and after the 4th, 5th, or 10th call, now they're just irate. So there's lots of pain, rejection, and sadness to be had calling on expired listings. And then when I was done with all of those, I would go and call on for sale by owners. And we all know that, these are people who hate realtors so much they wouldn't even think of listing their house with a real estate agent. Lots of pain and sadness to be had there. And then when I was done with that, I just parked my car at the end of a street. I put a little notepad that I had 50 check boxes on it. And I would not allow myself to get back in the car until I had 50 checks on it. 50 people who told me no. Knock on the door, dogs barking, you walk into the street, kids are throwing rocks from across the street, right? I would walk in a white shirt and a tie, right? Everybody loves those people that walk around the neighborhood, right? Like that. And the thing that was phenomenal about this particular discipline and philosophy was, now when somebody slammed the door in my face, I wasn't rejected, I was delighted. Why? Because I had one more checkbox to being done, right? So, and then I would go home and I would strap myself to a chair and a phone and a water, not allow myself to get up to go to the bathroom, and I would 50 more check boxes and looking for X number of defeats and rejections. So here's what happened. Because I was not only willing, but I was pursuing, but I was delighting in rejection and failure. I was pushing the pendulum on the side of rejection and failure to such an extent that, as he promised, it was bound to come on the other side, an equilibrium to success, victory, and achievement. And so I started in an office of 44 agents. It was my dad's office. And in the first 90 days, I was outselling the entire office combined, which is not tough because they weren't selling anything, right? Yeah. But I had more escrows, more listings in 90 days. And by the end of the first year, I was number 1 in the office, more than number 2 and 3 combined, and then number 1 in the city, number 1 in the county. And it really was just this, that a lot of philosophy in the personal development industry is, failure is part of your journey towards success. No. You don't accept it. You don't just let it know that it's part of the process. No, you pursue it. Like, you go after it and you delight in it. Like, stop setting yes goals. Start setting no goals. Stop setting success objectives. Set failure objectives. Because when you see it as part of your discipline, part of the pendulum, because you can't push it on the side of success, but you can push it on the side of failure, this whole mind shift, now there's no resistance, there's no uneasiness to attempting to do something where you might fail or you might get rejected. Now you're actually pursuing it. That opens the floodgates. Wow. That makes the whole world seem very different, and your experience of it completely different. So to this day, if I ever get to the end of a month where my palms haven't sweat, or I haven't been rejected, or I haven't faced some sort of defeat or embarrassment to some extent, I'm mad at myself. Why? Because I want more success, right? I want more success than I have right now. Well, what's the path to getting there? More failure. So if I don't collect any, I'm stagnant for the month. Not okay. So it's just this mind shift and an attitude about what failure really is, and you see it as part of the objective to success versus something you have to accept.
It creates the habit of going after the hard things that it takes to be successful.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember I was listening to Seth Godin. He said there's a big difference between long work and hard work. Long work is putting in lots of hours and doing all the crap that confuses activity with productivity. Hard work are doing those things that you don't want to do, but are the things that are necessary to achieving. And those are the prospecting, and those are doing the things that are hard to do, but the number of hard work hours you put in are the things that make the quantum leap differences versus the long work hours. So if you could just stop doing long work hours and start doing a few really hard work hours, you'll multiply your results and still have a lot more time for joy and freedom.
Gold, pure gold, amazing. That's an awesome distinction I've never heard before, and very powerful. I can see the difference. I'm applying that one immediately. More failure. Okay, so one thing that has truly been a real blessing that I found is how you really shared a lot of your experiences in your new book, The Compound Effect. And it was such a good book. I read it. I didn't put it down. I got on an airplane. We were flying somewhere, and I literally picked it up in the airport lobby, and I didn't put it down. It was one of the 2 or 3 books that I picked up that I could not put down when I was reading it, and I highlighted it up. I mean, it's highlighted every page, and I gave it to my son. He read it. He actually was. I mean, he's 14 years old, so getting him to read a book is not as easy as you might think. But he read it. He was fascinated by it. I bought it for everyone in my company, on my team. It's literally the foundation for success. I mean, if looking back at seeing the things that have allowed us to be successful in real estate and in our lives, and really seeing the principles that were there that maybe a lot of times you don't really identify. That book has just been amazing. Tell us a little bit about the book, and really, as you're going to be speaking on that topic at our event, what are the takeaways that you think someone's going to get by reading the book, The Compound Effect, or by attending the event and hearing you speak?
It really is as you described. The objective was to create a foundation of what it takes to be successful. The reason why I wrote it to begin with is that I was frankly pissed off. You look at the world around you, and commercial marketing gimmickry is constantly bombarding us with sensational claims to get rich, get fit, get younger, get sexier, all overnight, with very little effort for only 3 easy payments of $39.95. And we're constantly being bamboozled, taken for fools. And people who have a sincere interest in really learning what it takes to be successful, they want to do what it takes, are constantly being distracted and derailed by all this gimmickry. And so I was just fed up. Didn't want it to happen any longer. I just wanted to return people back to the basics, back to the truth, back to the core fundamentals of what it really takes to earn success. And so it really is sort of a distillation. Also, as publisher of Success Magazine, I kind of wanted to plant a flag and create a positioning statement that says, this is how we see the world. This is the truth about how this all really works. And it's not full of gimmickries, and there's no secret that's been buried for 2,000 years by some covert society that's only been recently unearthed and released for worldwide revelation. And you can sit on your couch and imagine checks coming into your mailbox. When you do that long enough, they will come and take your couch, right? Yeah. And you off to a safe place. Yeah. You have to actually get off the damn couch, go out the door, and make something happen. So I wanted to distill all the core principles of success, those timeless principles, right? There's nothing, I will say, new in it besides a new understanding or a new way of taking what has always been the core principles of success since the beginning of Success Magazine, since the Napoleon Hill days, as you talked about. And through my own personal experience, trial, error, and being able to make these work, through my voice, bring this distillation of core fundamentals and make them relevant to today's world, applicable to your real business environment, and actionable, specifically what to do to be successful. So I would kind of equate it down to this. It's an operating system, that foundation of success. It's like this. If you took the greatest software in the world, tens of millions of dollars of engineering expertise have gone to create this software. And if you install that software on a faulty operating system, it will be buggy, it will crash, it will not perform to its capacity. And a lot of people think, oh, it's the software that's faulty. It's the seminar that wasn't any good. It's the book that didn't work. This tactic or strategy that I learned from Jay Abraham, that doesn't work, right? And so they blame the software. The problem is that idea or principle or seminar or book or strategy was installed on faulty operating system, right? So that's what this book is here's the operating system. Let's rewire the coding of your operating system. So now, if we can get that world-class, if we can make your operating system world-class, we can install any software program on top of it, and now it will perform to its world-class capability. So we can install the superstar real estate professional software. We can install the amazing husband or the phenomenal father software. We can install the great health and fitness software. But if these had been installed on you before and they hadn't worked, it's probably not the software's problem. It's probably the operating system's
it's PC.
Right, yeah. So that's what this book is about. Let me just give you the operating system, and let's help you rewire that. And then once that is rewired, what's possible for you is unlimited. It truly is extraordinary. People say you can achieve what you can imagine. That's if you have your operating system intact and then you execute properly on whatever it is that you learn and whatever it is that you imagine you want to achieve. Then you finally have a system of execution that will deliver on these great dreams, goals, and ambitions you've got.
Amazing.
That's absolutely amazing, and looking forward to having you speak at our upcoming event. And I'm looking forward to everyone in attendance who has the opportunity to walk out and really have the foundation set for success and be able to apply a whole new quality of life to their lives and all those around them. So it's going to be a blast. Can't wait to have you there.
Fantastic. Look forward to it myself.
I'm glad we got to meet you. It's been, I was, the whole time I'm like, man, I want to go back and listen to
Yeah,
that.
absolutely going to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.